should be hearing my voice right now. Hello, YouTube. We're going to go live on Facebook. We have the amazing Brian K. Morris with us today. We're going to be doing some cool stuff and talking about some cool things. So hang out while we bring up our Facebook audience. And we're going to start streaming for them because they're lazy and they're not with us yet. So we're going to get them on board. And there it comes. There we go. Hello, Facebook. You should be live now, hopefully watching us. This is the Indie Comics Report. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. And you guys are in for a treat. We're going to go straight to our screen capture. We're going to show you who our amazing guest is. It's the one, it's the only, Brian K. Morris. What's going on, Brian?
Not a whole lot. How you doing, Rob?
I'm good. And for everyone who doesn't know, Brian is captain of the Rising Tide Publications, as you can see it on his fancy mic. He does a show twice a week called Nevermind the Furthermore, 10 a.m. on Monday and Thursdays, and at Tuesday evening he has more of an adult-oriented, you say more of an adult discussion, right? The clever title pending would be sometimes a little deeper into the conversation.
Yeah, we do a little more deep dive into creativity and the business behind it. Or sometimes we just go completely off the rails. But anytime we have a live show, we talk about what the listener wants to talk about. So
now I want to talk to you. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I do. And Eric Hawkins says, "Oh man, I see you guys all the time." Well,
Eric, yeah.
Well, Eric, thank you for subscribing, I guess.
We love you, Eric.
But I mean, this is, and we talk a little bit about this off air, and I'll say this publicly. I know so few people I can say who advocate as much as you do. Honestly, there are so few people. You spend 2 hours Monday and Thursday talking about other people's stuff to the point where I have to show up every day, not to promote myself, but to make sure you're being promoted and your stuff is getting out there. So just tell the audience who's new, who's never seen you before, how did that start and why do you do it for all this time? Like, what are you getting out of it, like as a person?
Some mornings I wake up and I ask myself the very same thing. What am I getting out of this? There's 2 hours I could be working. But no, to answer your question, I started doing this about 4-ish years ago on Facebook. I started hearing about this new way you could broadcast to people. And so like everybody else with a cell phone, I started doing it one day. And my intent was simply to go on the air, talk about myself in the most glowing terms for about 5 minutes or so, tell people where I was going to make a personal appearance, tell them about what I'm working on, tell them about my latest book, and probably fall to my knees and plead with them to purchase it. But then I started looking at the comments that I was getting because people will type in comments and say, "Hey, how you doing?" Or, "Attaboy, keep going, hey, I've got a question for you," sort of thing. And I started reading those and replying to them. And what was going to be originally a 5 to 10 minute show wound up turning into 20. And then I started to sign off. And then it took another 20 minutes for me to get off the air. And I realized that a lot of people were also looking for a forum. And as part of the Rising Tide mission, Rising Tide raises all boats, as John F. Kennedy used to say, that we all rise together when we rise. And so I started using it as a platform to, yes, I do talk about myself. And Rob, thank you so much for putting up my links to my various book services. Because I'm too busy to do it for myself, which I love. And Eric Hawkins is mocking me. Yeah, a banner, Eric. How about that? Anyway, Eric and I have a running dialogue going about doing this kind of show here that you do so well, Rob. But anyway, no, I just got to the point where I started talking about other people, and I found out that I was enjoying talking about other people more than myself, because for this moderate amount of flamboyance that you see in front of you, I'm actually fairly uncomfortable talking about myself, and I'd much rather talk about how awesome you are, Rob, than about how awesome Eric Hawkins is, because I can see his comments. So please say hello, everyone. If you're on here, please say hello so that we can say hello to you. But we wanted to also give a forum for people to not only just plug their whatevers, but also to talk to their potential audience or their existing audience and kind of on-air network, which a lot of people are worse at than they realize, or they're perhaps not, or perhaps they're better at it than they think. So.
And it is true. And I suffer from this. I'm great at advocating. People have always said, you know, you don't really talk about your projects, but with the Advocator, you seem to like hit a different gear. And people don't understand the Advocator wasn't mine. I never felt like it was mine. It was something I was part of. I was very proud of being part of it. But it was the communities. I always really felt that that was a communal project, and it still is. It'll be back this year. And by the way, hello, Teresa Dunn, who says hi to you and me.
Hi, Teresa.
But I mean, it's a lot to keep the energy you do, and that's the one thing. And a lot of people don't realize it takes a lot to do these shows. You hear yourself make a mistake, you have to get over hating yourself when you flub a word. There's so much about being an on-air personality that people don't realize. And you see comments sometimes that are, and it doesn't happen much on your show, but I've been on other shows where I've seen, to wrap it nicely for the kids, a comment about my genetics that I didn't agree with. Things I couldn't change about myself. And they don't realize you have to have that smile. And we talk about it. You have to be a personality online, and your personal stuff a lot of times gets saved for your family and your friends. So I give you a lot of credit because I know you've been sick on air and I know how that feels. So I don't think you get enough credit. That's why we recognized you this year.
That meant a lot to me, Rob, and I really sincerely thank you for that. I think the thing is, you and I want to put up something fairly professional, shall we call it, and something a little bit more polished than the majority of stuff that we probably see. You know, Sturgeon's Law, Ted Sturgeon, the great science fiction writer, had a law that 90% of everything is crap. And unfortunately, a lot of creative endeavors prove that out. For a while, you know, I used to tell people that I really didn't like podcasts all that much, even though I had co-hosted one several years ago. But I wanted to make the podcast I wanted to hear. But most of them at the time were just people who were like anyone discovering a new medium, wanting to see what the boundaries were. And I had somebody contact me and say, "Oh, you got to listen to my podcast. It's awesome. Me and my partner, we're fantastic." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll listen to it." And I took it for about 5 minutes because my friend was okay, if a little timid, but the other guy couldn't go 3 words without dropping an F-bomb, which, you know, I have no problem with swearing. Heaven knows I'm pretty good at it, actually. But that's not what I tuned in for. I tune in for ideas, not to hear somebody cussing for 20 minutes. You know, if it comes out during the part of making your point, that's fine. You know, I can handle that. But somebody, you know, like a 2-year-old learning he can make a poopy, you know, that just, you know, that sort of self-discovery just doesn't excite me, and I've got other things to do. So.
And it's funny because when Howard Stern went to satellite radio, they didn't instantly start cursing and dropping F-bombs. He kept an integrity to it, actually.
Yeah, I used to not be a real fan of Howard Stern's, in fact. I didn't care for him, but I've noticed that after he got through that period of, I can say just about anything I want. I can drop all 7 of George Carlin's forbidden words. After that, he kind of settled into becoming an excellent interviewer, and I'm kind of a big fan of Rogers, or not Roger, but Howard Stern. I'm a big fan of Roger Stern too. He's a great writer, but yeah, Howard Stern, I really like his interview style now that he kind of has the limits off, and it's refreshing.
I think a lot of that too, and I've experienced this, is when you're being bombarded with negativity, sometimes you respond. And we were talking about this. You have to learn not to respond.
Yeah.
By not responding, you're actually winning. I know that people have been bullying you, and I wanted to address it. It's okay if you don't use OBS with me.
You hear that, Eric? You hear that, Carl? No, I appreciate that, and I wish there were more people like you. There's probably more people that are like, "What are those guys talking about OBS?" But no, it's one of those things that, like many of my projects, I told myself I'd have it done 3 months ago, and I haven't yet. Part of my problem is, and it goes back to that professionalism I spoke of, that I wanted to be perfect right out of the gate. Now, the more practical side of me realizes that this is impossible. And nothing's perfect, and no plan ever survives an encounter with the enemy. But no, I do want to make my show look a lot nicer. I've recently been watching. I've had reason to watch some of my old shows, like the week you filled in for my broadcast, and thank you when I got food poisoning. Rob did an excellent job of kind of like looking back through my sordid broadcasting history. And I'm watching that. And plus I made a watch party of my first 2 official, never mind the furthermores. And only a few people picked up how really uncomfortable I was. Because I was like, after about 2 minutes, I'm like, okay, guys, let's just turn this into Mystery Science 3000 for me. There is no redemption for these old videos of mine because I thought the lighting was pretty good when I did them. They look like they were made in a coal mine now. And, for all my pauses and and everything else I was doing incredibly wrong. I ran 2 of them. It ran about 45 minutes, and they were it was like the longest 45 minutes of my recent history. It was just like, just one cringe right after another. Why haven't all you people left me yet? I don't understand.
Well, I think that there is something to be said about looking back, but you can't George Lucas it. You got to realize you can't go back and fix what was there. Because if you hadn't have done that, you wouldn't have learned. And to your credit, and I don't think people realize how hard it is to do OBS while you're live. And you do everything live. You don't get anything ahead of time. You can't preload because you don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what I'm talking about anyway. No, you're right. And I credit my theatrical past. I know how to improvise. When I started the show, I used to actually have a written agenda of things I wanted done. And after about 2 months, I realized that I might as well set my agenda on fire for all the good it does. At least it'll be entertaining for about 10 seconds while it burns. But anymore, the most prep I do is I go to the bathroom, I get a cup of cafefe. I'm going to keep the trade names off of here. But that's sometimes I don't wear pants when I do the show.
Oh, you're not just to say that, but it's so true. There are so many times during the summer I am just in boxers and no one knows because I'm barely ever on camera. Unlike you, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
I always have a graphic or something, or you as guest, because no one wants to see me. I've always believed this. Oh. I have a great voice for radio, and I have the looks to match it.
You're a pretty man. You're a pretty man, I tell you. Now, I would watch you. I do watch you, Rob.
That sounds creepy.
Success.
All right. So Chuck says Howard also underwent extensive therapy, which he credits to helping him a lot. And that's important. I've been talking about a lot. Because I think this year they've really started to bring in that men need therapy too. So I am thankful that Howard started. And thank you, Chuck, for bringing up that point. Eric Hawkins says OBS, which Chuck responded to. OBS, old bastard syndrome, which I do suffer from. I'm officially old enough to tell people to get off my yard and be angry. I've always been this way. I just have an excuse now.
There you go. Well, I just had a birthday yesterday, so I don't have any excuses. I've just got reasons now.
Now, what happened when you saw that video that I filmed you last night?
Oh, I was going to mention that before we came on. That was just so funny, and I played it for my wife, Cookie. She howled. She saw that. She thought that was great. Yeah, thank you. That was just so kind of you. I was knocked out by it.
for those who don't know, I called out Brian K. Morrison. A lot of people know that when I call someone out, it's usually not good for them.
Yeah, I'm like, oh God, what do I do now?
And all I'm doing is wishing him a happy birthday. But I saw the numbers spiking, like, oh, Rob's about to do it again. Rob's about to tear someone up.
That's right. Oh, yeah, we're gonna download that video and we're gonna probably put it in our OBS rotation when we finally get around to it. Another heartfelt endorsement for Brian.
But on a serious note, we are here for, speaking of trying to stay on program, there's just something important we do want to bring up today. So let's bring up our screen. Reminder, you can't fix the past. I don't know why we're on this page, actually. It was probably just I was talking to Brian and giving him stuff. We want to talk about instead, here it is, celebrity ghost hunters.
Yes, we do.
So talk to me. Do you want us to play the video? I mean, you're the guest, so this is for you. Let me know.
I'm not used to having this much control. Well, also we have the artist, Mr. Eric Hawkins, who he and I started working together about 5 years ago on another project, and we became friends. I don't know how much he regrets it now, but no, we started doing some other projects together, such as, and I knew about this broadcast, and I forgot to put my comic up, the Ghostly Tales of Spencer Spook, a revival of the 40s and 50s character. And we had fun doing it, although I'm sure I was a pain in the backside to Eric due to my ignorance of Photoshop protocol. Can you do this for me, Eric? I don't know how. So anyway, but the thing is also we're working with another dear friend of mine, Kadrosha Ona Carol. Go to queenoftheparanormal.com. This is an amazing lady who's got like a military background, equestrian history. She was a policewoman for a long time. And now she has real life superpowers. And I'm not joking when I say that. I have seen her do them. And she has various celebrity friends, and she had five of them with her. Or no, four of them, excuse me. Internet talk show host Jimmy Starr, who is on iHeartRadio and commands a regular audience of about 4.6 million people. Then he's got a right-hand man named Ron Russell, and they were palling around with Eileen Shapiro, who is a major rock interviewer on the Huffington Post, along with one other person that we will call the rock star, and that is who you're seeing flash by the screen now with the big cover over his face. Thank you, Rob. This could be you. And what happened was the others talked and decided they wanted to make a comic book of this one adventure where they went to what they thought was a deserted sanitarium, and it turns out it wasn't quite as deserted as they hoped. So Kadrosha approached me about writing a comic script for it, which happily I did because I love working with her, and it was a really fun story. Then she asked me, well, who do you want to work with on this? And I said, I've only got one go-to guy, and that's Eric Hawkins on this. So I convinced him into collaborating with us, and he's, you just get a taste of what he can do there. Eric is an amazing illustrator. He really is. Fantastic colors. He does everything well. And he even writes now. He has a book that took off last year, did fantastically well on Kickstarter, called The Zombiful World of Oz, which kind of marries up L. Frank Baum and zombies. He's working on the second issue right now, and we'll do his Kickstarter in April. But anyway, we have a Kickstarter for this right now that's been going on, and we're almost 50% of the way to our financing. And we thank everyone for supporting us so far. We're excited to get this book out. We're going to do it one way or another, but we figured we'd like to offer some people an opportunity to be inside the story. And we have many pledge levels that allow for like autographed issues, special covers, plus the opportunity to be drawn into the story itself by the only Mr. Eric S. Hawkins.
Now, with something like this, it's got to be hard to actually deal with more of a real life stance. I know I kind of tread water with that because I use real characters in my comic book. And a lot of people don't realize you kind of have to go back and forth, and there's some feedback that you suddenly get. How's the process been going from nonfiction? Because I'm taking this as part fiction and part real.
Actually, the only fictionalized part is the pacing. Because we had to fit a whole night of adventure into just a few pages, unfortunately. But I think I'm very proud of the job I did, and I don't usually speak that well of myself. But no, it's a good story to begin with, and that makes it real easy. Plus, Kadrolsha and I have collaborated on some stories about her that were done with another publisher. And at one point, I was writing this story, and I was making up the story. I was not going off of any real life incident. I was just making this up out of whole cloth. And I wanted to get it right. I think it's my journalism background, but I wanted to get her correct. How does she do it in real life? So I dropped her an email and I said, Kadrolsha, here's the situation. Here's what I've got you doing. What would you do? Well, how do you summon up your powers? And she gave me a detailed explanation of what she does to summon up basically the spirit of her grandmothers to assist her in dire circumstances. And I incorporated that into the story, and I realized, this is gold. I can make this sound just like her. And I would send her the script and say, is this what you might say in this situation? And she's like, yeah. And we'd have that back and forth together. She's actually been a delight to collaborate with. I just think the world of her. And she's awesome. She's I just can't say enough good about her. I really am knocked out by the lady.
All right. So normally at a place like this, in a show like this, because we're only 1 hour, you play a commercial. So why don't we play the Kickstarter commercial known as the video? And
let's do that.
Hear from them directly. So here we go. And when we come back, we'll have a special guest with us. So here we go.
Hi, I have an opportunity for you. This is Kadrolsha Ona, Queen of the Paranormal. I'd like you to become part of my team with my celebrity friends on a wonderful Kickstarter program called Celebrity Ghost Hunters. Jimmy Star and Ron Russell have dazzled millions with their Jimmy Star Show with Ron Russell and interviews on the red carpet in Hollywood. Eileen Shapiro is a world-renowned music interviewer, interviewing music giants like Adam Ant all the way to Dionne Warwick. There's me, Kadrolsha Ona, Queen of the Paranormal, first person in comic book history to do what she does in real life between the pages of a comic book, being a superhero. And here's where you come in. Just click the link. It'll bring you to our Kickstarter campaign. And for as little as $1, you can become part of our team. There's also rewards where you can become a person in the comic book, whether it's a ghost, demon, oh yeah, or like a Hollywood picture on the wall with your face in it. We have fun rewards, and we have a lot of secret video footage we're going to be putting up. Only for our backers that join our team. This is Kadrolsha Ona, and I hope you become part of our celebrity team.
Wait, did he curse? This is a family program. We can't have curses on. Oh wait, Chuck's here. Never mind. There's no way. There's no way to keep the cursing out now. What's going on, Chuck?
And F you.
You tell him, Chuck.
How's it going, Brian?
I'm doing great, Chuck. How are you doing, my man?
Actually, I'm doing good. I'm doing really good.
Good. Glad to hear that.
I saw.
Yeah.
I saw he was online, and I was like, "You never hang out with Brian K. Morris. Come on, it's his day."
Not often enough. I'll tell you that.
I hear that. The privilege is all mine, sir.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we do, and both of you guys are aware of this on Indie Advocates, is that we advocate for not only the Kickstarters, which you can find a list of somewhere here. We had it open. It's not open now. Oh, wait a minute. Here it is. So we have a list of all the different Kickstarters, and of course, Brian K. Morris is part of it. I am part of it. Jeff Weber's part of it. Chuck's part of it when he's live. But more importantly, we have the Comic Conventions Highway. Thank you, San Diego, for taking away Comic-Con from us, you bastards. And this week, we actually have a reason to bring this up during ICR. Normally, we do this on Thursdays, I should say, on the actual Comic Convention Highway forecast. But today, we have a special reason for bringing it up. Brian K. Morris, you're going to be somewhere this weekend.
Yes, I am. I'm going to be in Peoria, Illinois for PeoriaCon 2020. There we are. Saturday, March 7th, starting at 10 o'clock. There's going to be a whole bunch of really cool comic creators, back issue specialists, and everything you could possibly want in a comic convention. I'm really excited to go back there because I used to be a back issue comic dealer long ago. And I haven't done any sort of show in Peoria in 20 years. So this will be my kind of triumphant return to the city. Frank Fosco is going to be there. He does a lot of independent comics. He will be one of the guests there. And it's just going to be a real good time. I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody this coming Saturday. And also, a friend of mine, author Michaela Jade, will be wandering the aisles, offering goodies. I'll just leave it at that.
Now, one of the things I do want to mention, and I want to hand it over to Chuck because he came on to ask any questions he might have of Brian and his new project. One of the things I wanted to mention was, we haven't mentioned this on air since it happened. So the first time I think Chuck's been back on the program, I wanted to personally congratulate him because that night we really couldn't do it. He won the award for IP of the Year on Independent Awards. He doesn't get credit for it. A lot of people assumed it was in the awards because of me. No, Chuck is the one who put it up. Had faith.
I pushed it.
Honestly, when he put it up in the IP, I thought that we were done. I did not think we would win IP of the Year because that was a lot. That was a lot. We had Boston Metaphysical Society to go against. We had some really good properties.
So the funny thing about that's kind of like the sort of background stuff that people don't get to see, is that I came in also at the very end to go over all the numbers to make sure that everything, and we spent hours going over it, making sure that everything made sense and whatnot before the show. And we saw that one, and I went, wait, and he goes, you said, I think we did. Like, even we were both super surprised, and it was obviously right there. Like, it was just solid right there, but we both were just so into the work and getting it done that we couldn't believe that, oh crap, we actually won that. Oh dang.
And I remember there was a very serious moment because someone had voted on it and they weren't supposed to have voted on it. And no matter what, there really wasn't going to be a way that there was going to be us necessarily losing at all. But there was that one person who had voted and another person who had just had a lot of stuff going on who hadn't voted. So there was a potential that using that vote was something. So we spent 10 minutes going back and forth trying to figure it out. And then there was that epiphany that no matter what happened, Cat had won. And we suddenly stepped back and went, oh, wow, we just won. Because before then it was all academic. And it was weird. I wonder if anyone in awards go, oh, wait, we just won. Oh, damn.
Well, because I'm pretty sure that vote was not for us. And so you were like, do we allow it? Do we not? And we tried to go over like the reasons and all that. And then I went, why don't we just allow it? It doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
Like, just let them have the vote. It doesn't matter. And I mean, even if it did change something, then fine, we'll deal with it. But just the fact that it didn't meant that we didn't need to fight over it. You know, like we didn't need to argue and figure it out. Like it didn't matter. So just allow it and let's move on.
And it was funny because like I was so into trying to get this done the right way that I didn't even look for a minute to see if it mattered. It was more, does this have to, like, how do we handle this? It became about that versus anything else. But this is today about our good friend Brian K. Morris. So what do you got for BKM? What questions you got? We're barely on a screen together.
Okay, so I'm just getting up for the day and kind of moving. Tell me, have you already told everybody real quick about this project?
About mine? About the Celebrity Ghost Hunters?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can stand to talk for another 10 minutes about it. I have no problem with that.
So I'm a publisher. We're in an elevator. You've got 30 seconds of my time. Give me the hard pitch. Make me buy it.
Okay, start timing. A real-life superheroine and her 3 celebrity friends go into a haunted sanitarium and find adventure. There's video that'll be shown about that, and we have a Kickstarter campaign where you can become part of that story as well.
Okay. Definitely. You did, and you didn't take your 30 seconds, so that's fine.
I didn't even rehearse that pitch either, so
That's a good one. No, that's a good one.
I'm getting good at this elevator pitch thing.
So these are real people then?
Yes, as I was explaining earlier, that Jimmy Starr and Ron Russell have their own talk show on the internet, and Eileen Shapiro is one of the major music writers for the Huffington Post. Meanwhile, Kadrolsha Ona Carol is the real-life queen of the paranormal, who's got an incredible backstory to her. Plus, she's also a healer, a spiritual advisor, and just one of the sweetest ladies you ever want to meet. I actually got to meet her in person last year at Silcon in Mattoon, Illinois, and she is a total darling. She really is. And if you hear music in the background, that's my alarm clock going off to make sure I get here on time.
I was trying to. I was like, "What is that? That's cool.
What the hell is that?"
Yeah, I know, right? I know that's not me.
Right now. What the hell's going on?
It's a nice little tone for today.
How were they unfortunate enough to hook up with you?
It was some sort of a process of selling my soul to the Dark Lords who live beneath the waves. Fortunately, this, I was trying to shoot for hire, but this is all these other people got. No, seriously. I've been friends with Kadrolsha for several years, and we've worked together on similar project for another publisher, and then we did a comic book together about 2 years ago, and we decided we want to keep working with each other. And it wouldn't be just me making up stories. We would base them on her real life adventures, and Lord, I can tell you, she's had several. She's had quite an active life involved with the paranormal. Plus, like I was telling Rob earlier, she also has a military and police background as well. So, yeah.
So, how do you go about if there's so many amazing stories? How do you go about choosing which one to do at what time and whatnot? Like, how are you sifting through that?
I let her take the reins on that. If she wants to tell a story, we'll tell the story. And she knows what her audience wants. And so she said, "Hey, Brian, you want to write this story? Here's, what happened." And I said, "Just type it out for me and I'll take it from there." So since this has such since there's so much to take from, and you could definitely, it sounds like you could do some kind of ongoing as far as this is concerned. Has there been any talk about trying to pitch it to another publisher, or are you guys mostly excited to kind of do it yourselves? Well, right now, part of our collaboration involves me teaching her how to do this. She wants to take more control. She's not exactly a lady that likes to ride shotgun, if you know what I mean. She likes to have her hands on the reins and, have control over her career like she's been doing for the last few years. Part of this is an educational process for her, and of course I'm learning stuff too, which is always good. That's what helps keep this fresh for a lot of us, I know. So basically, yeah, we do intend to have many more collaborations in the future. As far as turning it over to another publisher, we've never really discussed that yet. But if somebody wanted to come up and throw like some serious money at both of us, we would definitely have that conversation. But for right now, we're very happy to just have total control over what we do. So yeah, it's been really, like I said, it's been really fun. I love working with her. It gives me an excuse to talk to her every now and then.
Right. I love that too, is when you build this friendship and you're like, let's find a good reason to keep hanging out and get work done.
Oh yeah. And I've got the same thing with Eric Hawkins, who's the artist on this thing, and everybody knows him from Nature Boy and the Spencer Spook and the Zombieful World of Oz, and we sometimes sound like an old married couple, the way we type at each other, but when Kadrolsha asked me, he said, "Well, who could you suggest to draw this?" And I only had one guy in mind. So, and I kind of wrote the script with his strengths in mind.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So, do you are you writer right now, or are you editing this?
Kadrolsha and I are kind of co-editing after a fashion, although she's doing most of the work, which is, I like it when other people do most of the work. That's a good thing. But I am the chief writer on it so far. So until she gets wise and dumps me. But no, it's been a wonderful collaboration. And she works with Eric, and she works with me, and then Eric and I bounce ideas off of each other, and it's just been a really good collaboration for somebody who came into comics doing like a lot of novels and such, where I'm the hand on the rudder. It's really refreshing to hang out with people, to make them your friends, and to be working on the same projects together, and know you're all on the same page and you all have the same destination. That's really great.
Yeah. That is really cool. That's most of what I've got right now.
Here's your laundry list of questions for Brian. Yeah.
For just waking up, I think I like slammed out some stuff pretty good. So
you did great, man. I'm serious. For having woken up at the crack of noon, I think you're pretty good.
Life's tough, man. Life is tough.
No,
it's funny. Not to get too far into my own life, but on Mondays I run a poker night, and we go until very late at night, and then I have to be up with the kids at 5. So basically, I split my day up. I'll wake up with the kids, and then I'll go to sleep around 9, and I'll get about another 3 hours or so.
Yeah, me and Chuck have weird conversations because I don't sleep well. So sometimes I'll be up at 6 in the morning, and suddenly Chuck is there, and I just talk to him for a while, and then I try to go back to sleep for an hour, and he goes back to sleep for a couple hours, and we meet up back later in another. Sometimes we forget what day we talk to each other.
I'm going to edit this broadcast because it'll be like I wake up at 6 and Chuck is there. This could be my retirement fund.
Well, that's actually happened already in Orlando.
It did happen, yeah. Orlando was good to us.
Pictures or it didn't happen.
We do have some.
The pictures are in a safe.
Now,
and we both have a key.
As we're recording this, we have a couple minutes left, and I want to address this because people are starting to get scared. And both of you have followings, and both of you have your respected voice in the community. This I don't know what they're calling it now, norovirus or something like that, right?
Corona?
It's
not Corona anymore. They updated its name, right?
Corad 19, I think it is. Something.
Yes,
like that.
something like that. So they updated it. I guess Corona threatened to sue them.
No. Well, so what it is that there is a lot of confusion. The thing is that Corona is a strain of virus.
Yeah.
And this is an offshoot of it. The 19 actually comes from the fact that it developed in 2019.
Okay.
So it's still a coronavirus. It's just a different strain that we haven't been able to combat yet. So it is a corona. That Cora 19 or whatever, that's just the absolute name of this specific strain.
Now, as of March 3rd, as we're recording this, so that I don't know if this part will age well or not, what are your guys' suggestions? Because I have some people who are actually actively asking me if I'm planning to cancel my appearances, and you have an appearance coming up just this weekend like I do. And Chuck, don't you have your first appearance coming up in just a few weeks over in Texas?
In about a month or so, yeah.
A month, because it's right around the same time as MegaCon again, right?
Yeah.
So, like, is this a concern for you guys? Because I have family asking me because I also have to take a 5-year-old with me. So this is like a bit of pressure coming down even from family to be like, well, when are you going to cancel your shows? What's it going to take? So what do you guys think about this?
Chuck?
I'm a con whore. So I'm hoping that other people cancel, and I'll scoop right the hell in and take your tables. There's a lot of people there.
Corona.
Honestly, I'm not that afraid of it. Everywhere I go, like if you were to check my my bag right now, I have a huge fuck you tin of the alcohol stuff. I have swabs. I have all that kind of stuff. Like I've done that even when there wasn't a virus going on. So it doesn't really change anything to me. I always try to be careful with that because con crud is a real thing. And I've gone into those conventions really sick and whatnot, and it sucks. But you just, you paid a lot of money to be there, and you go and do it, and you do what you got to, and you just make sure that you're not going to get anyone else sick and that you're going to be okay too. I will tell you, I learned something very interesting. And that is when you're talking about the face masks. So the face masks do not help you as far as inhaling. You will still inhale whatever virus it is. The point of the face mask is that the issue is that all the stuff we touch, we then touch our mouth and our nose 90 times a day. Mm-hmm. So really, the face mask is there to get your grubby hands off of your face. So just, if someone decides to have a cool mask or whatever, that's the real purpose of it. It's not about not being able to breathe. You can take it down and do whatever you got to do if you decide that you want to wear a mask. But really, it's just about don't touch your face, especially since we're all handling money. And that's a bit. So when you take bills, put the alcohol on, do it, and just do it all day long. Have the big tub. So I would just say, just take it careful. And if you do have an issue with, because I've seen a lot of people who have problems with low immune systems and whatnot, then maybe you should stay home and just play it safe because it's not worth it to put your life in danger.
So Brian K. Morris, how are you going to take it careful?
Pretty much the same way Chuck did is going to be doing. I have a hand sanitizer kit with me. Part of my job when I was part of the 9 to 5 world, I was in charge of getting our flu shots every year for the company. So I have had chances to talk to people from the Center for Disease Control. What a job they've got to do. But I'm also an old theater guy, so it's like the show must go on. There are people who are coming to see me. I don't want to disappoint them. Also, Peoria is not really an epicenter of where the disease happens to be right now. It's basically settling in more of the larger cities. And yes, Peoria is a major city in Illinois. But like Chuck says, I think as long as we protect ourselves and make sure the people around us are protected just in case, because this disease takes 2 weeks to incubate, which is really the insidious part of it for me. But yeah, keep my hands clean. In fact, the CDC is saying just the best thing you do is just keep your hands clean and be mindful of your space. That, Chuck made a good point about the face masks that I guess there are some surgical masks that can stop the transmission, but they also prevent you from breathing properly too, because the mesh is so thick. But another thing is if you have something yourself, your cooties are not going out to someone else. Basically, you can spit, you can do whatever you want, just whatever you do in your normal talking, and you're preventing the chance of other people being infected just in case you have it. But the thing to do, like Chuck said, is be mindful of keeping your hands clean and making sure that you don't touch your mouth or nose or eyes any more than you have to, because once you get into the sinuses, you got to take it the play up to the next level. But I think as long as we're smart about it, I think we can make this a good convention experience for everyone.
All right, gentlemen, it's just about that time to start wrapping up the program. So, Brian K. Morris, tell them where they can follow you and what you got going on. I know you got Peoria this weekend. Give them a brief, you can see me these places in the near future.
All right. Thank you, Rob. I will be at Peoria Con this coming weekend at 1601 West Northmore Drive in Peoria, Illinois at the Exposition Center. I'll be hanging around with some really cool people. Please come and see us. Admission is $10 at the door. Then on the 14th of March, I'll be at the C.E. Brem Memorial Public Library in Mount Vernon, Illinois, with a whole bunch of my cool friends. And at 1 p.m. there, I will be part of a panel on You've Got Your Manuscript Done. Now what you going to do with it? I will be there to talk the gospel of self-publishing. Then after that in March, we'll wrap it up on the 28th with the very first EIU Comic-Con. I guess they haven't gotten the notice from San Diego yet. And that's going to be at the campus of the Eastern Illinois University in Charleston, Illinois, at the Booth Library, 600 Lincoln Avenue. Next month, I'll be at SI Comic-Con in Benton, Illinois, and Cape Con at the Osage Center in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. But if you want to follow where I'm going to be at, go to Facebook, sign up for the Rising Tide Publications page. We need you there. We are closing in on 2,100 people. Thank you guys for your help. And also risingtide.pub. Also, you can see me, as long as I'm still taking a breath, Tuesday nights. I'll be on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern with Clever Title Pending, where we talk about the business of creativity and creativity itself. Plus Mondays and Thursdays, I'm trying to fit in my little frame there. 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, never mind the furthermore, where we talk about whatever you want to talk about. But other than that, I got nothing to say.
All right, Chuck, where can they find you?
All right, man. So for those of you in Texas who have decided you are afraid of the virus and you want to get rid of your table, my name is Chuck Pino. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Chucky Pin. You can obviously, I'll take your table in a heartbeat, my friend. You can find me at Chuck's Raw Reviews on YouTube. I would love it if you checked out Bonfire Press on Facebook. That's my little publishing wing. And the last thing is, I would love it if you guys checked out my metaphysical mystery podcast entitled Essence House that I'm doing with Eric Cockrell. And that is at essencehousestory.com or on any of the major podcasting sites you can possibly think of.
Now we're going to have Brian come and play our show, the Kickstarter Pause. We had to stop calling it Kickstarter Gong because, copyrights and stuff. So we didn't want to get in trouble with anyone. We didn't want to, we're trying to respect other people's property. And I realized Gong might be trademarked still. So we backed away from that. But Kickstarter Pause is something we want to do with you. I know Wednesdays are harder. Maybe soon we'll make a special Tuesday edition and we'll switch the crowdfunding report with ICR. Chuck, we should actually get you back on. You haven't played in a while.
Yeah, I played earlier this year, but it's a fun game.
It really
once you get into it, Gong, I'm in.
Yeah. Maybe tomorrow we'll talk more. But as for now, I'm going to sign off. Hang out, guys, so we can say goodbye normally. Thank you both for being on the show today. Of course, this is brought to you by the Indie Advocates Network. We're so proud of everyone who has been part of this network, helping us out, building it to what it is. Over 40,000 subscribers now. That's not nothing. That's certainly something big and something to be proud of. And it's all because of you guys advocating for us and advocating for other creators. And I want to thank, just in general, people out there who are supporting other people. Brian K. Morris is such a great example of how you can advocate for other people. And why don't you be more like Brian and stop trying to be like, smart asses to each other or attack each other and do nasty things. Support each other. Let's move forward. No, even Chuck is a very supportive person. It's a rare panel when you have three people who have helped a community as much as the three of us. And I barely take credit for what I've done, but I'm definitely sitting with my peers and people who actually care more about other people than themselves. And that's a rarity in this life. And I hope you guys follow these guys and maybe listen to them and take some advice from them on how to be a more supportive person, because I guarantee you it matters. And one point or another in your life, helping other people will come back to reward you. That's it. Yep. I appreciate everyone being part of the program today. And we'll talk to you soon. All right, hold on. We're going to say goodbye to our audience over here in YouTube, and then we're fully off air. Thanks, YouTube, for hanging out.